There we go. There we go. I couldn't see myself there for a second. I wondered if we were connected. Hello. How are you? It's Monday, the beginning of another week to tell people how they can be free in Christ Jesus. Woo! I get so excited talking about this stuff. It's a wonder. It's a wonder. Twila Belk and I will present a joint training session today showing you how to write your book's back cover copy. I'm going to show you an easy way to identify your benefits, not your features, which is what we concentrate on usually. And Twila is going to share the 4 key elements needed for every book's back cover. I think she even came up with a bonus one. So I think we are going to end up with 5. And you can use all of these elements in your marketing. So even though it's directed today, focused upon your book's back cover copy, it's valid even when you do your book proposal, when you do your cover copy, when you're marketing and you're creating going to an interview, people are going to be asking you questions. All of this content is very, very valid all the time. Hi, I'm Patricia Durkin, the Christian Message Coach, and this is Marketers on a Mission. We present marketing tutorials and interviews to help Christian writers and speakers take their message online so your ideal audience can find you. Find your message and be changed. This is episode number 126, how to write your books. This is tongue twister for me. How to write your book's back cover copy with Twila Belk. Hello, Twila.
Hi. Belk's back book cover, blah, 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 blah. Yes.
That was tricky, twisty.
You did it, though. You came through in a memorable way.
I'm so glad you could be with me today.
It's great to be with you again. This is fun.
You know so much about every aspect about writing books, publishing books, the process itself, how to write a book proposal, every single part of the equation, including the marketing on the tail end of it after the book has been written. I appreciate you taking the time today to help us understand more about how to write this really important piece of marketing material, isn't it?
It is a very important piece of marketing material because if it's not done right, people might not buy your book. And what good is it to have a book that you spent all those hours on if they're not even going to, be intrigued to open up and see what's inside?
Yes. It puts a lot of pressure on us, but the Holy Spirit will always help us do what needs to be done, won't He?
Yes, he's really good about that.
And yet, He does expect us to do our part, doesn't He? We're supposed to learn. We're supposed to apply what we learn. We're supposed to go out of our way to absorb information and so forth, and then hire professionals when and if that time is necessary. Do you agree with that?
That's right. And sometimes, we have all the material there, but we have blocks on us. And sometimes we just need somebody saying, have you thought about this? Or have you thought, just to point out some things that they might not be able to see right in front of them.
Yes. Well, I'm going to start the ball rolling, and I'll have about 15-ish minutes worth of information. Then I'll hand it over to you, and we will close up. Now, viewers, this may take a little bit longer it will take longer than 20 minutes, that's for sure. We're trying to do a thorough job without keeping you too long. So let me go right to the screen share. And the first point I want to make is this is not who you're writing your back cover copy for. This would be the result afterwards. This is not who you're writing your back cover copy for, and not even this person. This is who I suggest you write your back cover copy for. The person who is near destitute. Because we can be more clear when we're around people in pain. We can be more effective with our words. We can say more, have more meaning packed in fewer words. So, and that's exactly the challenge that we're dealing with. We only have a small amount of space, and we've got to get a lot of information in there. So instead of using a lot of words, let's get to the heart of the matter. This person is representing your ideal target market. Today we're talking mostly about nonfiction books, okay? So consider as you're writing this back cover copy that we're going to be talking to you about, Twila's going to give you a checklist at the end. Did you do this? Did you do that? So forth, to help you stay on task. This overwhelming challenge We need to remember that we're talking to people who are in desperate straits. 100% of the people, no. But if we write for this person, here's the rub why I say this. If we write for this person, we're going to leave her out. And she is in your ideal target market. And if we write for her, we still include the lady who's not quite so in desperate straits, and the lady who's doing okay and she needs a Saturday afternoon read. See how that encompasses going to the most desperate, encompasses all the other levels of pain. That's my opinion, and I stick to it. I found that to be the case. So here's an example. Sell the result, not the product. This is a non-writer, obviously. A battery-operated toy is the example I'm using. This is to show you, because we see these marketing messages all over our life, everywhere we go, on the television, on the radio, at the grocery store, in the department store. It's a never-ending stream. And people are using this information. They're using this process. So the feature of a packaged toy, as an example, we've got a battery-operated toy, and it's near Christmas morning. The feature of the packaged toy is that one of the features is that batteries are included. The benefit is that the product should be ready to use outside the box. So you don't have to wait 3 days and go to the grocery store or wherever and get the battery. The result, though, is what we're selling. We're selling the result, not the product, not the book. We're selling the result, the promised result. And that, in this case, is that your child or your grandchild won't be disappointed on Christmas morning. That goes another level deeper than simply the benefit. We often will list the features of our product, our online course, our book, fill in the blank. And then we go to, if we're really good, we go to the benefit. And we try to help people understand how that would make their life better. But if we're even better, we go even deeper, we want to get the result. People are not going to, our loved ones are not going to be disappointed on Christmas morning. Okay. Apparently, I have a duplicate screen, so we will move on. We want to focus your back cover copy on results and not features. You want to sell what we just talked about, sell the result and not the product. So here's your question. If your most desperate reader, this lady here, she's representing your most desperate reader. If she absorbs and applies your message that you've got in your book, the answers you've got in there, the wisdom that you've included, the insights, the stories of lessons that Christ has taught you, all the various pieces of, all the various components of your book, what will change in her life? What will change in her life? If you say nothing or I'm not sure, then we're going in the wrong direction. We need a little bit more, and we need it to be very, very clear. We want to speak to that most desperate reader for the reason that I mentioned a moment ago. When we get the worst off, and I hate to put it that way, but for lack of a better way, when we get the worst off or the most pain-filled reader, and we speak to him or her, we are also speaking to the other people and encompassing everyone, instead of when we start with that person who just needs like a, just sort of a good afternoon read, going on an airplane. And there's a place for those books. And if that's your book style and that's the content and the atmosphere of your book, go for it. Then you wouldn't want to speak to this person. But most people who have a nonfiction book, they are trying to answer a problem or solve a problem or answer a question of their ideal target market. So if we start here and we look at her and we think, she's my most desperate reader, have that person in your mind as you're writing and believe that he will apply your message. I have a lot of people who say, well, how can I promise anything if I don't know that they're going to do what I suggest they do? And that's a very valid question. But we are Christians and we serve people in Christ's name. So we work upon the premise that he will send people to our book, to our presentation, to our online course that he has already arranged for us to meet. He has taught us in our life lessons that will help our readers. So he is the one responsible for that. We want to believe that they will apply our message, and we want to write as if we know they will, rather than hemming and hawing. Then we want to tell them clearly and succinctly what will change. So let me show you two examples. One is Twila's book and one is Janet McHenry's book. Now these are features. I need to make sure, excuse me just a second, let me confirm that I have shown my screen correctly.
I see it.
You can see it?
Yes, I can.
I should be able to see it, and I currently do not. Excuse me just a second, everyone. Let me confirm that we're good. Oh, yes, there we are. We're good. We're good. So this is Twila's book, The Power to Be Still, Be Grateful, Be Strong, and Be Courageous. Now, these are the features. So 4 sections. They have 40 chapters. And at the end of each chapter, she has these elements: a power statement, a reflection and a response, matching that content in that chapter with Scripture. So she refers back to Scripture. And then at the end of the book, she has a compilation of all of the power statements gathered together. So one page represents the power statements made in each chapter. And then she has the same, a reflection and response. There's her back cover copy. I had to make a picture, which is not fantastic, but I needed clarity so that I couldn't get that by scanning what we had online. So this is what Twila does. God gives us the power to be all He created us to be. And then she has this information. Sure, that's easy for you to say, but you don't know what I'm dealing with. Immediately, she's painting the picture. This is my ideal reader for this book. That's this lady. That's this lady, or someone like her. That's not the lady jumping up and down with happiness at this point. She is confused. She doesn't sure that this is even going to work. She has questions, and maybe not even anybody to answer those questions. And right away, right here in this next question, in this next section, Twila promises it's possible to be still, grateful, strong, and courageous. And here, again, another word picture. Even when undergoing trials, facing unknowns, battling fears, or struggling with feelings of inadequacy or insecurity. Then she goes on to tell us more about the book. And then we have some bullet points, which we're going to cover in a moment. And then we've got a little bit more. This is a 40-day devotional. And it's telling us, this section is telling us that we can shift our attention from situations and self to a big God. This is a promise that Twila's making. If you read her book and apply the contents and the wisdom and the insights and the scriptures, and you dig in and you make a change, you're going to be able to shift your attention away from your situation, which is probably very horrible. And how do we know that? She's already told us up here.
I think I need to go buy that book. It sounds like what I need.
Well, it's pretty good. I've got it, and I can tell you it's pretty good. Now, Janet McHenry this is one of her latest. I put the front copy so you can see the book, but we're actually dealing with the back copy. So hers, the features are 14 chapters, and at the end she has suggested prayers that cite Scripture. And where Twila has 1 or 2 sentences, Janet has almost a full page. And there's no competition here at all. I'm just describing the content to you. And then she also has practical action steps. And in the back of her chapters, right after her suggested prayer that takes up almost a full page, she has a minimum of 7 practical action steps that her readers can take to put meat on the bones of the words that she has shared. And again, she describes her ideal reader. This is a little bit difficult for me. My picture really is horrible. This is a compelling, we're going to get to the other part. Twila's we're going to be looking at both of these cover copies in just a moment with Twila as well. She describes her ideal readers, many Christians, and who are they? What kind of a Christian, or what do they know about Christianity, are unaware that Jesus modeled a rich prayer life. So if you're not interested in a rich prayer life, then this is not your book. And she tells you right up front, but she doesn't say it in any way that's obnoxious. It's very subtle. It's very genuine. And it sets the pace for all of the content coming down the rest of the page. She promises us an engaging, vivid journey. Because haven't we all read some things about the Bible, and we're just praying to the Lord Jesus, let it be over quickly. It's so dry. It's so unengaging. We just, if it's for school or for, whatever, an assignment that we're obligated to read it, we're just praying, just get through it. Just get through it. This is a unique, comprehensive guide. So she's got that phrase up here, a comprehensive guide, and she's got it down here as well. It's a unique. So I haven't seen anything like this. I'm the reader looking at this back cover copy. Janet's telling me this is unique. I haven't seen anything like this. It's comprehensive, which means it's thorough, and it's a guide. So I'm not on my own. She doesn't just toss out information. She's showing me how to learn, how she's telling me something about the Bible, something about Jesus's prayers, and then helping me apply that to my own prayers. And that's what we want. That's what this book promises. And her end result is you will grow closer to the Father and find strength for your challenges. Mm-hmm. And we all have challenges. We all need that. All right. Now, Ms. Twila.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to talk first, or do you want to go to the screen share first?
I am open for anything here.
All right, let's go to the screen share then. Let me go back. Let me resize this just half a second. All right. What are your comments about both the design comments and the content that you're pointing out, the elements that you are suggesting that we include on every book's back cover copy?
Now, keep in mind that different books are different sizes, too. I think Janet's book is maybe a little bit bigger than mine. Mine's a small, a kind of hand size. So that's you got to take those kinds of things into consideration, too. It's quite a bit different. So she might have more room on her book for more things.
Yes.
But there are some common things that we need to talk about. And if you see this picture here, you'll notice that she mentioned you've got a headline there that draws your attention, but you'll notice there's plenty of white space. And I just can't emphasize how important white space is for readers, rather than having big blocks of material that you can hardly make it through. And then you go back and it's like, what did that say anyhow? I don't know. I mean, it's good to have white space. Our readers don't have very long attention spans. I don't have very long attention spans. So really, anything we write, even the book chapters, we're shortening them up and making sure we have fewer sentences in each paragraph and things, just so we have plenty of white space in there.
Can we say something about that? That white space is a design term that means empty space?
Yeah, so it's not like you have 50 sentences in one block, okay? So if you look at her first paragraph, she's got 1, 2, 3 sentences in that first paragraph. Okay, so what we want to look at is nuggets rather than big blocks of material. And keep this in mind, even for when you're using this, for promotional material. If you are an author, or an aspiring author who wants to get a contract with, you want to land a contract with an agent or a publishing house, and you're meeting with them one-on-one at an appointment at a writer's conference, you'll want to have maybe a one sheet, and you'll include something like this on your one sheet. You want nuggets, that they can just read really fast and draw them in. So you'll notice down here speaking of the white space, we've got the bullet points. And the bullet points are just something that you can just pick up and read real quick, and it just goes straight here, and you don't have to struggle to read it. They're concise statements, so you know what you're getting. And we want to make it easy for the potential reader for our book. We want to make it easy for people who are going to online retail sites like Amazon or Barnes and Nobles, and they can just look at that and see, hey, that sounds really cool, without having to work for it. And now that I've said that too, keep in mind, when you're searching for a book at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, CBD, any of those places, a lot of times what they have for their sales copy there is right from the back cover copy. Now, how important is that? Think about that. Okay, and so if you have nothing to do during a day, just sit there online and look at some of those. What is it about that draws you in? What makes it want you to buy that book? You know, it was probably something that you read there. So keep in mind, you know, you've got a compelling headline, you've got bullet points, and then if you have room for it, you might want to have a nice little endorsement or two. She's got a nice endorsement here from Carol Kent, who is a well-known speaker and author, and she influences a lot of people. And so her endorsement adds value to that book. You know, people might not know who Janet is. A lot of people do know who Janet is, but there might be a lot more people who know Carol Kent. And so if you have someone in your sphere of people that you know who could give you a nice endorsement, or a couple of people, and if it would fit on the back cover of your book, that would be a wonderful thing to have. You might notice that the endorsements on the back of the book are shorter than what they might be inside of the book. You might see the same endorsement inside the book, but it's longer. So it just depends on the space issue. And then you'll notice at the bottom, she's got a short bio, and it's nice to have on every book a nice short bio, maybe 50, 60 words, you know, to 100 words. Not a lot, but some there, so you'll get to know who the author is, and it's a good thing to include. So you'll notice the back cover copy on my book is a little bit shorter. I don't have an endorsement back there because it's a little bitty book. But I do have endorsements in the front matter of my book.
Yes.
So, but again, I include those bullet points. What are they going to get? What can they expect when they read this book? You know, and like Patricia mentioned, that we are giving them a promise. If you read this book, you will get this and this and this, and you know, so bullet points I've found are just, sometimes they're easier to work with when writing back cover copy. You know, you think about what you have to offer your reader, and it's just easier sometimes to do that than writing paragraphs. And so what we want to do is we want to draw in the reader. We want to show them what they're going to get out of our book. Yeah, make them want to know more. And now, Patricia mentioned we're talking about nonfiction here. Fiction is a little bit different because we might not have bullet points and do the same types of things with fiction. But when you are writing the back cover for fiction, you really want to draw on your reader. You don't want to give them all the information. You want to leave them hanging. It's like, oh, I got to know more. What's going to happen? You know, so you're teasing your reader and wanting them to know more. So you'll have a few differences there, but a lot of the same types of things. Again, you don't want to have a big block of material that you have to trudge through. You know, you don't want your reader to work hard just to figure out what is inside of the book. Make it easy for them. Make it intriguing, and go from there.
I appreciate you saying that, because we've all seen those books that we look at the back cover to check out. I mean, and it's too much trouble to even.
Yeah.
That tells us so much about the book, doesn't it?
It
does. The author didn't care enough about me to make it easy for me to read this book.
Yeah. I work with Cease Murphy, who is well known in the industry, and I've been with him. We wrote a few books together, and one of the books we wrote together was called "I Believe in Healing: Real Stories from the Bible, History, and Today." Well, when it came time, the publisher wrote back cover copy for that book, and when we got it, it's like, whoa, this is awful. And it's terrible to say, but see, they didn't know what was inside the book. I mean, they wrote it like it was a theological treatise or something like that. It was just it was awful. And I thought, I'm not going to read that book. I wouldn't have any desire at all. So I worked with them some a little bit, gave them some ideas and included the bullet points. And it's like, oh, okay, it really freshened it up and made the reader know, wow, if they read this book, they're going to find, people who have their voice restored and their crippling effects were erased, and that cancer cells that just, they're going to see what some of the things are in this book talks about. But at first it was terrible.
Hold it up for us so we can see.
It's this book here. It's I Believe in Healing, Real Stories from the Bible, History, and Today. So this is what the back cover looks like. And see, they kind of centered the bullet points in the middle. But those are telling some of the types of the stories that you're going to get. And it starts out, the Bible is full of miracle stories, but some Christians today aren't sure whether God's healing power is available in the same way. And then it says, in I Believe in Healing, you'll read these stories and others from the Bible, History, and Today. Stories that can't be explained by natural means, reminding us that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Then it lists some of those, and it just goes on. But it's a whole lot better, and this book has done really well. I don't think we would have had the same results with this book if they would have kept the original back cover copy.
And that compelling headline, read that compelling headline to us. That caught my attention.
Do you believe God heals today?
Do you believe God heals today? So if I do believe, or if I don't believe, either way, you're pulling me in, aren't you?
Yep, it's pulling you in. So keep in mind that another point, if you're working with a publisher and you don't like something that your cover says, work with them on it. No one's as passionate about you as your project. They might not even know, the person who's writing that might not have spent time on that book, and so they really don't know what it's about. And so you just need to be involved. But if you're doing an indie project, self-pub, you're going to be the one doing it. So
let me show you.
Think about that all the way along as you're working on it.
In real life, this is Janet's back cover copy, and it's beautiful. It matches, of course, it just wraps around the front, wraps around the back, design-wise. But it's clear, it's compelling, big headline. I can see it at a glance, and I'm vision impaired, so if I can't read it, I'm not going to buy it. If you're going to make me figure it out, get a microscope to read your title or your back cover copy. And I've seen some books that the back cover copy design, which does not fit in the category here with Janet. I can read everything on this page, but I've seen some books that it's, and you're not in complete control of this, I know, as a writer, but something to be aware of. This design can be so dark, and then you put black text on top of that, and it's like, well, that was fantastic, but I have no idea what you're talking about. I can't read it.
Yeah.
It's too small, or it's too dark, or the design behind it, the background image is way too dark or too light to fit with the text. Needs to pop out, doesn't it, Twila?
It sure does. And again, make it easy on your reader. Think about your reader throughout the entire process. You're writing this book for your reader. You're not writing it for you. You're not writing it for your mom. Well, maybe you are, then you don't need to go through a publisher. But, think about your reader all the way through, even things like your back cover copy. Make sure it's easy to read, that you don't have to struggle with the words. It's in the right size font and all of that. It's really important.
I'm going to check Facebook. We have 2 comments there. And we're going to come back and we're going to look at those 4 or 5, just that checklist that you had suggested. But let me check Facebook first. Jeannie Cagle Waters says, hello. Hi, Jeannie. So good to see you. Glad you're here today. Janet McHenry, the author of this beautiful book, says,
hi, Janet.
She says, I'm a huge fan of bullets in proposals, in back cover copy, and in the text as well. They make it easier for people to read points. And I so agree.
Exactly.
100%. Jeannie says also, I always read the back cover copy first. Me too, Jeannie. As a reader, what you're saying is true. As a writer, I'm glad to hear this. So that's feedback. Thank you very much for that feedback, Jeannie. And you mentioned something early on. Oh, go ahead and finish your thought.
Go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, you had mentioned early on that the information, this isn't the first time we've seen this information as the person who's written the book, is it?
No.
When did we start seeing this information, start gathering this content?
This information, it just might pop up in your proposal. If you're writing a proposal, and that information will be in your proposal. You can pull it out. You might even have those exact words in there, but you're going to be able to, as you're writing your proposal, you're thinking about that all the way through, because you need to know how you're going to sell the book. And you want to know what the features are of the book, the results that you are wanting to have, and all of those things. So you're going to write that into your proposal. Then you're going to pull out those pieces and use them on your back cover copy and your one sheets and whatever sales, wherever on your website.
Yes.
They're really valuable information. So think about it from the beginning of the process and work that into your material right away.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're sitting there and one-on-one, you're pitching your book to different publishers or agents or whatever, you're going to have that material right there ready for them too. And it's in nice bite-sized pieces.
And when you go and you're invited to have an interview, you've got information. Now, I don't do canned interviews, but most people do, where they have information. They just read off that list of questions. But you already have that. You don't have to create from scratch every time.
That's right. And you can tweak it as you go, but you just need to know where you're coming from. And so it's good to have all this backup stuff.
The last point I want to make about that is, from my side, is that, excuse me, it sounds like we're talking about everywhere somebody turns, they're going to hear the same information, but that's not true. Somebody's going to see it on your website. Somebody else is going to hear it when you're introduced for an interview. Someone else is going to see it in a book proposal, in a social media post. And then really that's the way to do it anyway. Then cumulatively, our message becomes stronger and more effective, doesn't it?
And they're going to hear your name. Name awareness. We want to create name awareness and book title awareness. And it doesn't normally just happen immediately. You need several. It needs to be in several places, and you need to. It's got to be a continual effort because they just don't sell themselves.
Unfortunately, no. Janet has another comment. She says, Janet McHenry, I write the proposal with this kind of information first, which is exactly what you're talking about, Twila. She says, even before creating the outline and writing the final chapter. That focuses the book writing process. What a great point.
Yes, she's right on there. Focus, because as an author, you need to have things figured out in your mind. Where am I going to go with this book, and what do I want the end result to be? So all of that comes out of what she just said. We figure out what that is, and how do we get our reader to the end point that we want. Okay, when you walk away from here and you're finished with this book, you can expect these things.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
that was an excellent point.
This information here is the first time maybe your reader is seeing it. But again, as we mentioned earlier, this is not the first time. This is your map.
Yeah.
In a condensed format, your map for where the book is going to go. Then when it's finished. Your reader knows what promises you are making. Mm-hmm. This is who you're talking to. You've got that at the top. You don't say it that way, but you describe their situation, what they're feeling, what they're going through, what's happening in their life that they would need this book. If there's nothing happening in their life, then do they need this book? You remember, you're giving them an answer to a question or a solution to a problem in a nonfiction
speaking
book.
To their need.
Yes. And or speaking to someone, I can buy a book for someone that I care about. But either way, clarity is what makes the sale.
Very important.
Boom, boom, boom. So let's quickly go back over here to the screen share before we close out. And let me remind you one thing here. This is the final for me, and that is you want to sell the results. You don't want to deal with the 14 chapters and the 36 bullet points, and those things have to be in place, but you don't identify them. Let them be the foundation that you build upon. You want to talk to in my opinion, you want to talk to your most desperate reader. Address that person, write your back cover copy for that person. Now,
And,
you may have a different take on that. You certainly do what you and the Holy Spirit and your publisher want you to do. But I suggest when I write my own content, I work with the person who's at the furthest down in the funnel, not because I want to live there, but because if I deal with that person, I can serve that person. I can about audit them. Excuse me. I get so excited about this. All my words want to come out. By default, I'm also touching all the layers above, right? Do you agree with that, Twila, or do you think that there's a better way to do that?
I guess what you say makes a lot of sense. I guess you have to think about the type of book you're writing too. But you're always thinking about your reader, who they are. That's just really important. But if you are thinking about, okay, this is my target audience, but it could also affect this person and this person, so they're reading your back cover copy and they're intrigued by that. What's the next thing you do after you read the back cover copy? You open the book and maybe thumb through the table of contents, the introduction or whatever, and so you learn a little bit more about the book. So, you hook them with the back cover copy. Maybe they're not where that target reader is, but as they start thumbing through your book, they're going to say, hey,
yes,
I like what she has to say about this or that. This is for me too. So yes, what you says makes a lot of sense, but there are sometimes when it wouldn't be the case, depending on, if it's a joke book or something.
Yeah, some places
so you got to think about the type of book it is and who ultimately who your target audience is.
Yes. There is not always a most desperate reader. Not everybody's audience includes people who are, just in a dire straits. Yeah. So I agree with that as well. And I'll also add the caveat that Christ typically through the decades that I've served him and served other people in his name, he has brought me people. So I am speaking for myself. He has brought me people who are in near or in desperate situations. Yes. So that's why I feel so strongly about it. But it's still, that just lives right beside your point. Right. They're both valid. Okay. While you're talking to us about these last points, going over your checklist, I'll check and see if we have any more comments or questions. All right. Here we go.
All righty. Well, these are some of the things that we mentioned before, but they're worth repeating. So keep these things in mind as you're writing your back cover copy, as you're writing your proposal and things like that. Your back cover copy will describe what your book is about and how your reader will benefit. It intrigues, it draws them in. You want to draw in your readers, and it leaves them wanting to know more. You're not going to tell them everything, but you want to give them just enough information that it's like, wow, I need to know more about this book, and I'm going to look inside to see what I can find out. Keep in mind, you want to include lots of white space. Don't have the big blocks of information. Make it easy on your reader. They don't have to struggle. They can have little nuggets of information, not blocks. We have short attention spans. We may need to make it easy on their eyes. And then include a short bio. It depends on the publisher, what they want, and how much space is on the book, but you want to keep it short. A longer bio can go in the back of the book, in the back matter, not the back cover copy, but you want a short bio there. And that's a whole different topic about the types of bios you write. And, for another day, we can talk about that another day. And then if you have some nice endorsements and there's room on the back cover for an endorsement, you can include, a shortened version or two. And like Janet's book, like I said, she had that nice endorsement from Carol Kent. And that's just adding more credibility to her book. People might know who her endorser is rather than, they might not know her, but Carol Kent's name adds more credibility to the book, or vice versa, that kind of thing. That's why we have endorsers, and it's always a good thing. And that's also something to keep in mind throughout your writing process, is who could endorse my book. We include that information in the proposal. Think about, that's a whole nother topic as well.
Okay, well, you just have to come back and help us with some.
I'll think about that.
I think we had one more comment. Let me check and see here. Yes, I think Jeannie had something. Jeannie says, Jeannie Cagle Waters says, I don't have a book written yet, but I'm thinking when I develop the ideas I should create back cover copy first with the reader in mind. Mapping.
Exactly. You can call it something else when you're first starting out, but you can use that information on your back cover copy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if you can't,
it's sales copy, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Albert Einstein said, we were not close friends. I did not meet him. I did not live. But he had a great quote, and he said, if you can't explain it to your grandmother, you don't know what you're talking about yet. So if you can't explain it quickly, clearly, succinctly, and cover the bases, then you're not ready yet. And that doesn't mean you couldn't get ready in a day with somebody's help, perhaps. But it's got to be tight, doesn't it?
It does.
We
have to be write it tight. Don't use extra words. There is a way to write tight.
Is this one of the tightest places that you'll write, do you think, Twila?
Probably one of the, you don't want to waste your words. You only have so much space. So you want to stay on point. You don't want to take rabbit trails. You want to, get in there and get out and get your job done.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's been fabulous.
I have an assignment for your audience though.
Please.
It's real easy. Just go out and pay attention to back cover copies. Go on Amazon, go on Barnes & Noble, CBD, or go into a bookstore and look at them and think, what is it that draws me in about this book? Or what doesn't work on this book? So keeping those things in mind. Why are you interested in a book after reading a back cover copy? And then incorporate some of those things in the way you do your back cover copies.
Yes. And I want to piggyback on that challenge, and I want to be specific, 3 to 5. Look at 3 to 5 back cover copies, books, and you know what I'm saying. 3 to 5. And if you feel like it, report back to us. What captured that for you? What did you not like? You don't have to identify the book. I didn't like it. It was too wordy. It was too choppy, or it was all one long bit of nuggets, just one long block of text. And you can't read that kind of stuff. Nobody can read that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. This is the end of this episode, but Twila has promised she will be back. Thank you so much for joining me. We went over just a little bit, but everything we talked about, well, there was even more we could say, but we talked about the really most important critical elements, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we covered the basics.
Okay. There's always more to learn about writing or speaking, and that's just the way it is, and definitely about online marketing. But that's why we're here, to serve you. This has been Marketers on a Mission, episode number 126. Excuse me. How to write back cover copy with guest instructor Twila Belk. Tomorrow, author and speaker Louise Looney assures us that we are never too old to become a writer, and she will tell us how she is using Facebook Live to grow her audience. She's a lot of fun. She's got a lot of energy. You will certainly enjoy Louise. We're here every weekday, 12 p.m. Pacific. Lost my train of thought there. 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern. We want to help you develop or refine your online marketing skills. It's a tool that gets you the results you're looking for, which is to help your ideal, your God-given target market find your message online. You can serve more people online than you can offline. So let's get that message up there, and let's refine the message and our marketing techniques so that we can spread the gospel around the world for Christ. Shall we? Until tomorrow, I am Patricia Durkin, and with Twila Belk, we are so appreciate you being here. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.